Hey guys, I would just like to start this video off by saying thank you to all of you that have subscribed and watched here to my channel. I can't thank you guys enough. We have recently crossed the 4,000 subscriber mark, all 100% organic. I don't have any big street people, any other big YouTubers or anything like that flock and say, hey, make sure you check this person out, this, that, whatever. Absolutely not. It's all been off organic discovery, and I just can't thank you guys just enough for all of that. So thank you guys very much for watching all my stuff, and plenty more content to come, and we will see you for some further episodes. Yo, what it is, everybody? Thanks for tuning back in here to another episode here on the Speedbug channel. Today I want to talk to you guys a little bit on how and why I review my bikes that you guys all see here behind me, kind of the way I do, because I kind of give you guys the view into the motorcycles into a different perspective. And some people obviously hate it. Some people say I have no freaking clue what I'm talking about. Some people absolutely praise it because I'm one of the only few channels and such that do review these motorcycles the way that I do. Now, first and foremost, let me start off by saying there is no physical or mental instability, instance, or anything that is wrong with any of the other ways that any of the other viewers are reviewing their motorcycles when they are doing things. Now, other things like, motorcycle magazines and stuff like that, when they are testing these motorcycles and such on the racetrack, they're testing these bikes to what they're built for. It doesn't matter if it's the Jigster, doesn't matter if it's the V4, this, that, whatever. They're testing these bikes in the way, in the form that they are absolutely being built to be used and utilized. Meaning they're super sport bikes. On the racetrack, you're testing the brakes, how good the brakes are, where the brake fade is, the riding position, the throttle response, the way it loads and unloads the suspension, the grip that the manufacturer selects for as far as the tire preference for contact for the ground, how wide are you using, a 190, a 200, a 180, whatever it may be, a little bit taller tire, a little skinnier tire, whatever it may be. Testing all of that. And they do a fantastic job at it. Now, when these bikes come out, these are all production motorcycles. None of these are MotoGP bikes. They may have been at one time and then obviously went down to a World Superbike and then into a production motorcycle. But these are all production motorcycles. All of these motorcycles here, they're all VINed, they're all registered. None of them are race bikes. So when the average user, whether you claim yourself to be a real good rider, a professional rider, someone that's not afraid to take it to the track, this, that, whatever, you're going to buy this bike and you're going to put a license plate on it and primarily and mostly ride this motorcycle on the street. Whether it be having fun commuting, doing some street racing, taking it down to Mexico, doing your racing out there, riding it on the street to the racetrack, racing it on the track, riding it home, all of that, and then or the occasional Sunday cruise, and you just want to have fun. So when the motorcycle magazines are testing these motorcycles to say, hey, the brakes are really good on this bike, they're a little bit better on this bike, they're not as good on this bike, whatever the case may be, that's on the racetrack. But when you're doing 40 and 50 miles an hour and you're just cruising here, and you're cruising, in a 50 zone, when it's 50 and you be pressing the brakes and you just slow down like an average Joe because there's another car in front of you and there's other cars behind you, you're really not going to notice any brake fade. And you're not going to push these motorcycles to their limit as far as that, because these brakes are designed to brake at 150, 180 miles per hour, and they are designed to dissipate brake fade and all these other things. So when I'm reviewing these bikes and you're riding these bikes on the street, is what I'm trying to say is I'm reviewing it from a perspective that these motorcycle magazines, when you're going to test up the new R1M and check out the new Owen suspension and see how much better is it versus Gen 1 versus Gen 2, they're not going to tell you how that's going to operate on the street, because that's not what they're testing it for. They're testing it on the racetrack. Where I will kind of tell you it's on the street. You already know how it is on the racetrack. So I'm not going to sit here and do a full crazy review on how it is on the racetrack when it's already been done 20-something times by 20 different motorcycle magazines. And I'm not saying that one is better than the other. You all have your preference. Some people may like Motorcycle Mag News, some people may be like Cycle Rider, whatever it may be. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to sit here and say which one is better. It's all in your preference. So when you're riding this bike on the street, you know, comfort, where the rear sets are, how soft are the handle grips, how wide are the handle grips, meaning like the outside diameter, where like we all know Ducati has very small diameter grips as opposed to all of the other ones. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm not saying that's a good thing. It's just how Ducati does their thing. And you may find that to be an annoyance on the street, as I do. But when you're tucked down on the racetrack, I actually find it to be a little bit better than the bigger grips. I'll be wholehearted honest with you. So there's certain things like that that I'd be willing to tell you. And a lot of people give me flack, like, oh, you're not a real reviewer. You're not riding the bikes on the street. Let me tell you something. You're buying this bike from a dealership. 99% of you, maybe not 99, maybe 95% of you are going to primarily live with this motorcycle on the street. That's why you don't buy a tire that has slicks on it, because what happens if you get caught in the rain? You're still primarily riding the bike on the street. You're not tucked down all the time here with junk in the tank, chest on the tank, you know, all in the handle, in the wind tunnel, you know, 100%. You're not like that all the time. You're casually cruising, and then when you want to get down and go, you twist the throttle and you go, the bike's there, and then that's it. You see a nice open stretch, you get down on it and go. How the brakes work on the street. Is there brake fade? Is there not brake fade? But where you're going to experience it just normal riding on the street, you're not really going to notice that. So comfort-wise and all of that really plays a huge factor into it. And then another thing, when you're primarily riding it on the street, not running it, and you don't have a full pit crew and a race team, maintenance and mechanical ability to, as far as fix the motorcycle and repair the motorcycle. So how much is it a pain in the ass to get to things? How much of a pain in the ass is it to take the fairings off? Whatever it may be. You know, some bikes are a little bit more difficult than others. Some bikes are a little bit more easy accessible, as opposed to, believe it or not, this bike is pretty accessible to get the fairings off. Believe it or not, as easy as the GSXR is to work on, absolutely, once the fairings are off. But this bike has a lot of fairings and clips that you have to take off. It's probably one of the most difficult. Now, I'm sure most of you guys that follow me know that I would probably almost never say anything bad about this bike, but I'll tell you, this bike is still not perfect. Even though it may be one of my most favorites, it's still not perfect. Okay, where this bike is just pretty much a pain in the ass all the way around to kind of work on. But it is what it is. So when you're reviewing a bike and you're riding it on the street and stuff like that, you have to look at the overall package. By all means, it doesn't matter if it's the BMW, the Ducatis, the Yamahas, the GSXRs, the Groms, whatever it may be. It doesn't matter, in my opinion, whatever one it is that you want to pick. It's the overall complete package. And the one thing, if I could give any advice to any of my viewers, absolutely any advice, is do not pick a motorcycle based on looks. It will bite you in the ass every single time. Again, I'm going to repeat that. Do not pick a bike solely based on its looks. It will bite you in the ass every single time, because then you don't know anything about it as well, because you're solely basing it off of looks. You want to base it on looks and everything like that, the V4 will win hands down. Okay, hands down, 100%. But when you sit and you're riding in traffic and that seat is hard as a rock and that heat is coming up, and then when it comes time to repair it, then the service intervals and stuff like that, I don't care what Ducati says about the service intervals. You cannot go as long as those service intervals cost, is what they say they are. And if you go as long as they say they are, you're going to be in some serious shit, or that bike is going to leave you stranded. And for the ones that own it, they know. And for the ones that don't own it and just read about it and listen to what other people say, you're full of shit. Because I will tell you from a full ownership, and the other V4 owners will 100% agree with me. This is not knock on V4, I'm just telling you. when you want to not have problems or whatever, you probably going to want to and sit in traffic and stuff like that. I'm not going to sit here and advocate, say the V4 is better than the not the V4, the BMW is better than the Yamaha or the Suzuki, this, that, whatever. But you're probably going to want to ride in a sport bike, probably an inline bike, because then you don't have the exhaust heat that's coming directly from underneath you. And you probably want to stay away from center line exhaust, if I can just give you any quick piece of advice. Way it just doesn't boil you, you know, between your legs and stuff like that. But you want to get the bike that has the overall package for you, depending on how long, how far your commutes are, where you plan on commuting, all of that jazz. So you're going to want something with maybe a plush seat. You're going to want something that's got some decent handlebars, some good levers, good on gas mileage, and pretty easy to work on. If you have some tools, you know, maybe you can work on it, you know, as opposed to some bikes here like the BMW uses pretty much all Torx bits and stuff that you could see, where the Suzuki uses standard hex bolts. You know, one is still not better than the other, but you may only have your standard socket set and you're going to have to go buy a complete Torx bit set to kind of work on this bike, because everything is a Torx and an inverted Torx on this bike. So just some things that you might have to just watch out and look for as you're ready to purchase and maintenance your new motorcycle. And I just kind of review them from an overall perspective, because they're all badass in their own way. And I'm not going to sit here and say, this one's better than this one, this one's better than this one, this one's better than this one. No, you kind of have to look at the whole package and what you're going to do with it, and then make that decision. Sit on them all. You may like the way this one looks, but it's stupid uncomfortable. You may like the way this one looks, but it's too tall. You may like the way this one looks, but it just doesn't do it for you as far as the whole package feel. You may like this one, but maybe it's too expensive. And then this one, you'll come over, this one may do it all for you. Whatever it may be. Think about it, make your decision, don't impulse buy, and look at it all, because I will review these bikes, as you've seen in many of my other videos, to make it easier on you guys, because I'm not going to just review it from a racer's point of view. I'm going to review it from a whole point of view, from ownership of the motorcycle, because we already know what it's going to do on the racetrack. So you already can expect that. Your tires are going to wear out, your brakes are going to wear out, you're going to go through gas, oil changes, all that stuff. Brake fluid, clutch fluid, whatever it may be. Everything else, how's it ride on the street? So that's kind of just a quick synopsis on the way I kind of review these bikes and see them. I've pretty much taken all of them apart. And I hope this information that I've provided to you will just be a little bit informative and will help you out. And it'll help you and make your next decision a little bit easier when you're purchasing your next bike. But that's going to wrap it up here for today's video here on the Speedbug channel. I hope you guys liked what you saw. Again, don't forget to subscribe, Facebook, Instagram at the Speedbug, same name here as YouTube. And we'll see you here for another episode here on the Speedbug channel. Deuces.